I need to show, let's show that one bookcase that's on the back wall. That bookcase, as you see it here, comes out 3 feet, and it's 7 feet tall, just like the others. So I'm going to come out here, 1, 2, 3. Now, because I'm measuring width, I use the vanishing point when I bring it forward. And also, I'm measuring height. I'm going to also make the vertical from that vanishing point also. But coming from the vanishing point forward like this gives me the width. Now I'm going to measure the depth on here, which is 1 1/2 feet. Coming over here, 1 1/2, and then coming from the measuring point forward, 1 1/2 feet. Then at that point, I'm going to make a horizontal line going across here like this. Here's the 1 1/2 feet. It goes back in behind there like that. I know it's 7 feet tall, so I come up to the 7-foot height right here, bring it out from the corner to here. Now I'm coming out from the vanishing point again like this, because we're talking about width here, coming out with. And I've already measured the depth, but I need to then come forward, come vertically from this corner. Let's get the confusion out of here. Here's this corner here. From this corner, let's make a vertical up to the top. And find that. And then at that point, draw a horizontal line. It goes back in here like that. All right. Now, you might be wondering, again, how, if this is only a 6 inches, how do you get books out of here? Well, I'm lying a little bit. These things aren't 1.5 feet. They're about 1 foot 4 inches, but I didn't want to be that precise, so I'm just doing this to show you how it works, not so much to be accurate. So let's then find something really difficult here. What there is a flat file here made by bolting together 5 hollow core doors, and it was done by it's 3 feet by 8 feet, and it's also 3 feet tall. What I want to do, and I know it butts up against this bookcase, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to come to the bookcase and make a horizontal line like that. And you see, I've already measured 3 feet of width back here. Let's just project that forward by using the vanishing point. We're projecting the 3 feet of width forward. Now, this is where we're going to get distortion. The farther you get away from that center of vision, the more distortion there is. This is going to look a little bit bigger than 8 feet. See, here's 8 feet initially, but this 8 feet is going to be huge. So one thing I need to note too is that the bookcase, the flat file is 3 feet tall. So coming from the vanishing point down the wall, there's the 3 feet. Now at this point, I'm going to make a horizontal here and a vertical from the floor up. This gives me the end of this. And you see what it's done? It's obliterated an awful lot of the work we've already done in here. Okay, so now let's draw the near corner of this flat file. It comes out like this. And I probably need to find some way of measuring the depth, but the trouble is, at this level, the depth is going to run off the paper. So I need to find some way of getting that, something to represent that. One of the way I think I can do it is this. By not trying to measure down this wall, I don't think I can get it. If I could try it, I could come over here and measure 8 feet, 2, 4, 6, 8, and come from the measuring point forward. I could see that it's going to run off the paper. So what I need to do is try and measure something, a line that's a little higher up and a little farther to the left. And I think the line would be this line right here. This line that represents the near top edge of this. And I think I'll use a color for this. What I want to do is this. I want to come up to the 3 foot height right here. And at this point, I'm moving the ground line up. Now, I know this is a little bit complicated, but it's still worth studying, I think. I'm going to move the ground line or horizontal measuring line up to the 3-foot level. And I'm going to measure up here. Now, I know the total feet coming down this wall will be 16 feet. 8 feet of 2 and 6 put together makes 8. And then 8 more feet out here gives me 16 feet total. Maybe I can measure it on this line right here. I might be able to. If I start here and measure it and then come from the measuring point, I might be able to get it. So let's try. Let's try 16 feet. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Coming from this point forward, yeah, I think we can get it. Coming forward to this line right here, this red line here. What I've done is I found that near corner right there. And by using that, is that off the, no, it's still on the image, isn't it? Okay, I can draw this corner like this, and I can put the vertical aspect of it in here too. So this is the near corner of that flat file. So I just kind of give it a little value here for now, just to kind of help us realize that that's a corner. There are some other details here that I probably should start to show a bit of. Let's say things like the thickness of the bookcases, things like this, and then the vertical little thicknesses to things. And then the 2 bookcases butted together come right here. Then the thickness over here. Then there are shelves of random heights. I always tell my class, it sounds like the name of a movie. Random Heights, starring Merle Oberon and I don't know who, Leslie, whatever his name was. Random Heights. So here we have bookcases of bookshelves of random heights. So let's say right here, this one will probably be about a 3-foot level here. And on those bookcases, I should also show the depth of those bookshelves. I say bookcases, bookshelves is what I mean here. Okay, so showing these depths, and what I have on these is these tear sheets that I use. I used to have to use tear sheets. Nowadays we use computers to sell our work, but most illustrators used to use these tear sheets, which you could get from Workbook and other places. They probably still can do that. So I have some of them, they're kind of sloppy in my room, so they're kind of sticking out like that, some of them. So tear sheets. And then I have some of them just kind of taped on the front here so I know what's on it, you know. So I have the tear sheets. I'm not going to draw all that. There are some books up here on this shelf. Okay, books on the shelf. Up here are those old slide trays, you know, the slide projector trays. So, let's see. Actually, they're not that big. Slide trays, slide tray boxes. And going in alignment toward this vanishing point. You should try to get some kind of foreshortening in there, but let's put a little space between this one. All right. So there's slide trays sitting up here, some of them stacked this way. I'm not drawing too accurately here, just enough to get the impression for right now. Here again, the thickness of the edges of this, and then shelves at random heights again. Probably one at the 3-foot level here. And then more slide trays up here. Okay. These there is a drawing table here, and I've changed the dimensions just so we can make it work. Now you know that if you were to draw a drawing table up against the wall, like I'm going to have here, it's going to be the top is going to be angled 2 feet at the near side and 3 feet at the back, and I'm going to draw it like that right up against the wall. Now you know if you're going to put that top back like that, it would swing back like this. But I think for the sake of this drawing, we'll forget that and just have the top butt up against the, even though there's a window there and everything, I'm just going to have it butt up against the wall. So what I know here is I have this plywood on the floor, which is 48 inches across. I think I'm going to do this, this drawing table at approximately 45 inches, which is what it is, by just cheating in a few inches from the edges, see, of this plywood like this. So I'm going to say that is the top of that table laid down on the floor. Now I want that to come back a distance of 3 feet. So I'm going to measure it on this line right here. Can you see the line? Yeah, good. I'm going to do this. I'm going to start here and measure 1, 2, 3 right to here, and from the measuring point I'm coming forward to here. I've just measured 3 feet of depth. Now I'm going to make, so what this is the tabletop as if it were down on the floor. But what I want to do is bring it up to where it's 2 feet at the near edge and 3 feet at the back. What I'll do is make verticals at each corner like this, where it's touching the wall, make a vertical here, a vertical at the near edge, a vertical at the near edge here. Now what I'm going to do is go to that back vertical where it touches the wall. I kind of missed that a little bit. Let's make it right there. Where that back vertical touches the wall, we know that the 3 foot measure is already there. Remember when I measured the height of this thing? Coming down, there's 3 feet. So there's 3 feet. There's the back of that tabletop where it touches the wall. Now let's come forward and find 2 feet by bringing that, lines forward. Remember, all the measurements must be made at the back wall and brought forward. So if I go to the back wall and measure up 2 feet, 1, 2, and at the back wall measure up 2 feet, 1, 2. All measurements must happen at the back wall and be projected forward. So like this, I'm bringing the 2 feet forward like this. Now that I brought it forward, I can get a horizontal line across here, like that. Now, that tabletop can be angled up like this, and like this. And what should happen, and it may not here, but what should happen is I should get those converging at a point above this. Well, they're not quite doing it, but normally they would converge to an auxiliary vanishing point directly above the regular vanishing point. It would probably be more like about here. But that's all right. It works well enough for what we're doing. What I have then is there's 2 legs on this table. I'm reaching the point where I'm going to start winging it just a little bit. These are the objects, or the legs that hold this up are 2 upside down Y shapes that come down like this and then spread out like this, okay? And I'm not going to spend a lot of time drawing it because I have a finished drawing that I can show here in a minute. Now I have a chair that is centered to that table. Say it's sitting about right here. And I want the seat of that chair to be 18 inches, which is 1.5 feet. That's a very typical seat. So starting here, I want to measure 18 inches, but I can't do it here. All measurements must happen at the back wall. So I'm going back to the back wall, and I'm going vertically up, and then on the back wall, I'll measure 1.5 feet, that's 18 inches, and bring that forward to here. There's the height of 18 inches. What I'm going to do here is I know about what that seat looks like, and this is not as precise as the other drawings that was done before, but I just want to do enough to get a kind of sketch here, what this chair looks like. Something like this, has arms, and then that central column that holds it up stops just short of the floor, And then down here on the floor, I would probably find a square shape like this, maybe a little wider. And within there I'll draw an ellipse, something like this. And then let's have the legs coming out this way, that way. So there's 5 legs to this chair, something like this. So there's rollers here, 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 and here. And then those legs are elevated up a little bit above those rollers, you know. So I'm not spending a lot of time on this. I'm just doing enough to get that in there so we can see what it looks like, okay? Now I'll show you a better drawing here in a minute so I don't have to waste a lot of time. What I want to show you also is the tabaret. This is unusual. What this is, let's use a blue pencil here. The tabaret is movable. We don't know exactly where it is. So let's just pick a place. Let's say it's right there. So how far away is that from the wall? We don't know. So here's how we use this. I know I want to measure 3.5 feet coming forward. Here's how I do it. It's by the way, it's right up next to this plywood. So starting here and drawing toward the measuring point like this till I come to the measuring line. Now I'm going to measure 3.5 feet. 1, 2, 3.5. And then I'm going to come back from that measuring point this way. So here's what happened. This 3.5 feet here measures this 3.5 feet here. Let me draw those lines all the way out so you know where they're going. Let's see, this one is here. So you understand, I use this 3.5 feet to measure this 3.5 feet. I have full size 3.5 feet here, but foreshortened here. Now what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to do too much here, and then I'll bring the finished drawing out and show you what it looks like. But I know now that this is 1.5 feet wide. So what I have to do, all measurements must happen at the back wall. So I go to the back wall and I measure 1.5 feet. And because I'm measuring width, I'm using the vanishing point and I bring that forward like that. Now if I come to every corner and make verticals, I'm going to make a 1 foot high tabaret here. Tabaret, it's actually made out of an old coffee table, but who cares? Let's go to the back wall here and draw a line on the back wall and measure there 1 foot high. That's how, as tall as it is. Now, whoops, I dropped my sound device here. Let's bring it back up. Okay, now coming forward from that 1 foot measurement from the vanishing point, and let's carry it over to these lines over here using horizontals. So here then is the height of that little low coffee table tabaret. So what does it look like? It's kind of like this. It has some vertical supports here. There's an opening in here, another vertical support here. Then inside of there you can see junk, okay? Some kind of stuff. And then here is, oh boy, an airbrush. Hate to admit it. I can't remember exactly the shape of it. Something like this. There's a tank here someplace. There's a handle for lifting it up. And there's a water bucket over here and a pallet that you can't see. So all that stuff is there. So that gives you approximately what this looks like. And there are these shelves that are made out of hollow core doors. Come down like this. Let's see. I just do a few of these so you can see what it looks like. And then there's a thickness there's a plywood thickness to the end here. And then these would have, going back in like that sort of thing. So now let's look at a finished drawing of this same thing, really carried on out to a finish. Let's superimpose this on here about how it looks. Something like this. All right, this gives you the finished drawing. So you can see the carpet. This thing is so heavy that I can't move it to take that wrinkle out of the carpet. So I've got a wrinkle there in the carpet. But another thing, like when you're drawing ellipses like this, if the thing is aligned with the vanishing point, that's a true circle. And I know if you really photographed it, it would look elliptical. But in the rules of one-point perspective, circles that are parallel to the picture plane are not elliptical. They're actually still circles. So that gives you about what that room looks like as a finished drawing. Okay.